Himfoni mapande is kovani ala modeala. Rambo is coming lomi fasidi and kaskani mibelia. Neskoma domi faliala. I am Rawlings, Jerry John Rawlings. When the former slave masters first arrived in Africa, we had the land. They had the Bible. They taught us to pray with our eyes closed. By the time we opened our eye, they had the land, and we have the Bible. And still, we have the Bible.
He's a handsome man.
Courageous.
He exudes a lot of confidence.
Honest.
Very sympathetic.
Charismatic.
Innocent boy. He's an instrument in the hands of neocolonialism.
Rawlings is an enigma.
I think he's a lion.
Very terrific.
He's swift. He's cunning.
Extremely intelligent man.
J.J. Rawlings is the good man.
He's an inspiring, born leader.
He knows what he wants.
We imbibe Christianity together with the Western culture. You see, and he says, you give me that Christianity and keep that culture out of it.
Indeed, sometimes he tended to have pointed out that our traditional religions probably have better values in terms of religiosity than what the imported religion says. And therefore, you may remember that he talks about, what do they call, the shrine, Antoinim, that whenever there is a situation when people have to swear, he says that people know that if you swear to Jesus or to Muhammad, nothing happens to you. Therefore, if you indeed believe that you are speaking the truth, let's go to a traditional shrine.
Anytime you find him referring to that, the man is not saying that that is what I believe in. He doesn't believe in that. Trust me.
What you said about him wanting to be a priest, he said it so many times to me.
All the dealings I've had with him, that I've always seen him as that honest person.
He is a very, very deeply religious person.
Who would like justice to be done.
But you see, he thinks that religion is a one-one affair.
But I know he was going to church at Holy Spirit Cathedral. I know that every year he was there for the midnight service or New Year's Day service, that I know, and the children and others were baptized in the church, that I know.
I would think that Jerry was more of an instrument of God at a certain time.
Well, he wasn't a womanizer. I was. He wasn't a womanizer. His woman was Nana Kunedu Ajima Rawlings. You can be as beautiful as Miss World or whatever. He hasn't got time to go chasing any other woman.
I must say that their relationship, if I should respond, is a very enviable relationship.
They're always touching, they're always holding hands, he's always hugging her, you know, I mean, in public, you know, I mean, there's so many instances. I mean, you know, where you see him dancing with her, and anytime he dances, he wants to dance the slow dances. He doesn't want to do the rock and roll, you know, which he dances a little well, you know. So, you know, that's and I've seen them. I mean, you see the intimacy, but that intimacy cannot be conveyed by me saying it. you know. But if you were to see it, you'd realize that these two are in love with each other.
I know also that he's a very nice, loving family man. You know, he calls his wife Nana, and my wife Nana.
Nana was in the same form with him. It became more serious in Form 4 and 5, all right? And I think it was in 5D, she was in 5B or something, or vice versa. And I think they took each other serious. And he was a cadet. And after he left school, he went to what? To the academy, and so on and so forth. So obviously, it's not just their marital life that they've known one another. It's a love that started in school.
He is a wonderful father. I'm not just praising him, but look at the way his children behaved in the time that they could have been anything, but they were very well behaved.
Somebody said, "Oh, I hear that Zenato is making us proud." There, you know, he said, "Yeah, you know, these are some people from Cape Coast said, you know, from their own children, that she gets that she's flowing, doing the scrubbing the floors, and you know, whereas other ones, you know, are saying, you know." That was the first time I realized what problems the teachers were having with some of our political and the big men's children. Like they are untouchables.
I've seen other ministers and other grandees, you know, in Ghana whose children misbehave. But I never saw it from his children. And it was because he had time. Though he was president, the little time he had, he could focus and sit with them and thrash things out with them.
Now, I know the times when he did the homework with the children when they were in primary school. I remember those days, the 80s. Yas Antoine will come with her homework, you know, and she'll be, you know, scribbling it, and you will want to see. You know, and sometimes when were having difficulty in the midst of everything, they will come and say, "Daddy, this and that." Then he would take a look and say, "Hey, they have changed their mass." So
he was always there for them. That one I remember. Because, for example, one day in Kusumbu, we were up in Kusumbu, and Kimathi complained of a stomachache. And for some reason, I think he got a stomach, you know, had maybe a running stomach. But I did see Nana carry Kimathi on her back, you know. And I said, wow, First Lady with a child on the back, that's unusual. Then the decision was to bring in a chopper to take them to the hospital. But then he took a fatherly decision and said by the time the chopper gets here, he could have driven to military hospital.
By family, if you include the extended family, yes. He also has an extended family network of his mother's people, you know, his uncle who was a colonel in the army, his uncle, his biggest uncle whom we knew who died a few years ago. So there is a family there behind him to which he belongs and which responds, has always responded to him and upon which he falls. So when he goes to Jelukope or Kata, there is a family gathering.
Don't mess with his family, and I mean it. Don't mess with Rawlings' family. He's very protective.
There was a time under a bridge in a foreign country, if I recall, she came, shy, weepy. I told her about love and of love's sadness, solitude, and an empty bed. She answered with silence, dropped a necklace into the grass, turned her head to watch a star. Then she embraced me kindly and left her pain in the grass.
He's a very great artist. He does very, very good sketches. All right, very, very good sketches, pencil sketches. I've seen his pencil sketches, and he is an artist.
But as an artist, I believe that he's drawing out of instinct. He himself has made artistic sketch, one of a ballerina who is in a dancing pose. When we were freed, when the June 4th revolution succeeded and we came out, he went out to take a jet plane to fly.
And that is his first passion. You know, he's an aeroplane driver. And from all accounts, he was a good airman. He showed me a short poem he wrote when we were sitting on an aircraft. I don't remember what it was about, but it's like some random thoughts that were floating through his mind. And so we're flying against the rising sun.
Generally, he is he has a keen interest in all aspects of sports.
When I was ambassador in Brazil, a man, a very good Brazilian horse breeder who has heard and read all about him, came to see me in the embassy and said to me, look, I read somewhere that your chairman at that time was very fond of horses. I'd like to give him a horse. And so I sent a message back to Accra and asked whether he would accept this kind of gift. And the message came and said, yeah, he would love to have that horse. So this man, at his own expense, this Brazilian, shipped one of the most beautiful horses to Accra. Brown, I mean, it's like, and majestic. My next visit, when I talked to him, he was full of sorrow. The horse died. And he was absolutely devastated by the fact that this pet had died.
How can he be gay? Please. Jerry can never be gay. All these years I've known him, it's not a possibility.
Otherwise, I'm a good-looking guy. You chase me. And most of us, not only me.
Look, people level or bring allegations against a lot of people, all right? Just like they said Liman was a drunkard, ex-President Liman was a drunkard. I should do President Liman's photography as well, you know? And the most I saw Liman, the late President Liman drinking was tea in the mornings. And I used to basically sit outside his office. And that's all that would go and come, teacups. Very seldom did I ever see him drinking a beer. And yet he was described as drunker than a lush. All this nonsense about him spitting on the carpet, just like they say Jerry Rawlings smokes weed. Where's the proof?
That's absolute nonsense. From my point of view, I never saw him smoking ganja. And I think the opportunity availed of itself if he were to do that with me at a certain time.
Yes, it may have been of a worry to him that he didn't come black, because he had reminded me on some occasion that, Ali, those of you who are indigenously black, you have more advantage than me.
There is a lot of truth in that. I am sure that while he was growing up, you know, and I think some of his classmates will, even today, some of the people who were in school with him who do not like him, when they speak about him, Obroni Pete, you know how, you know, Obroni Pete and that kind of thing.
Probably like me, I've always asked, do children have the choice in being born? The answer is no. So how can children be blamed for what they are, who they are? Jerry's always been proud in who he is.
He could easily have named himself Rawlings Agbotri, as many crossbreed Ghanaians do. But he's not, that is not the focus of his worry. His worry is that, I mean, because it's clear to him that he's Ghanaian, he's African. And everything he has done has been done in that spirit of feeling and behaving African.
He's a man of humor. He has humor. And I think he has his ways of relaxing. Sometimes he even uses the tension within himself to drive a point across.
When they served me, right, and I saw these green things in the stew, I figured there was a practical joke coming here, but I didn't know. But there was, my plate was full of these green things, and my glasses were not on, so I thought they were peas. All right, they maybe canned peas, until I started feeding on them and found out it was papushito. You know, and I was sweating, and profusely sweating, especially on top of my head. And he looks at me and says, Chenu, tete. I said, fine, sir. He says, Nanaka. You know, and meanwhile, I've been taught by my father, any food put in front of you, you have to finish it. And this thing is decorated with these green peas, which has turned out to be paposhito, you know. And he says, what would you like to drink? I said, a glass of water. He said, oh, you sure you won't have a beer? I said, no, sir. Just give me the water. And I started eating this thing. And then Kimathi starts laughing and the kids start laughing. When I finished, it wasn't that he says, is it like Shoha? So, that was a night to remember.
I wanted him to come to my parish in Sacred Heart Parish in Derby Avenue just after he handed over the government, the first government. And he was living on Independence Avenue. And when I went to the house, he wasn't there. So we were just about to leave, and in came this sports car. And who was inside it? Only the former president. And he got out of it, very young man. He got out, and I introduced myself to him. So the two of us sat on the back of the car, and we just chatted, just as if I'd known him a long time. And it was my first time to meet him. And we chatted, and I invited him to come to the church to give a talk on leadership in the country, leadership in the church. And he was so friendly.
In all the years I worked with Jerry Rawlings, I don't remember him ordering me to do anything. And I don't remember him ordering anybody about that. You go and do that. The way you sometimes hear him talk. He doesn't do that with people he works with. When he wants the phone will ring, I'll pick the phone and say, Minua, do you have a minute? No, actually he will say, Minua, come and have a coffee. Come and have a cup of coffee. When I put the phone down, I pick my pad and I take a pen because I know that it is a working coffee drink. Then as we drink the coffee, he would talk. I said, Minua, do me a favor. That's how he talks with the people he works. You ask them all.
When he invites me to his office, the first thing he says, well, also for me no tea, no coffee. And he'll get up from the desk and then call the secretary to provide tea, and he's fantastic. It's just an interesting character.
And in those days, he used to like to drive himself. He drove himself, and I sat in front with him, and behind him was a bodyguard. And we got into town a little late, and we saw an old lady, a grubby old lady walking by the side of the road. And he was wondering why she was walking at that time of the night. So he stopped, all right, and picked her up. All right. I had to get down and go in the back so that he could sit up with her, and he talked to her. I wouldn't have given the old lady a lift. I mean, I'm being honest. But he did it. And he didn't do it to show off to me, because at that time, the relationship wasn't anything about showing off or trying to impress anybody, And the way he talked to the woman, when he left, I was touched, because I realized it wasn't play acting, And I've seen him do that a lot of times.
One of his greatest concerns was, when he goes to he goes to a function, the Gerardins goes to a function, and he sees this young artists who have been brought there, and they are dancing, and he's sitting down and says, and he's saying to, what can we do for, and so that he's concerned, well, it's 9 p.m. Well, that child should be asleep. So where are his parents? Had his parents some hiding in the background there?
I think it was one of these award nights, right? Artist awards, I don't know, at the conference center. And he said he heard his driver singing a song one day, and his driver, singing this old tree song, Maya Bonia for Mami, Maya Bonia for me, something like that. So then he gets up on stage and he calls out to his driver and says, he remembers when he heard the song. What was that song? And he says, Maya Bonia for Mami, Maya Bonia for Mami na mini ubeu. That.
He never wanted to behave in a way that would make him look little. I remember in their officers' crew room, I strayed into their crew room one day, and I noticed that he has written a warning that you are a pig to want to come and peace here.
And that infuriates him easily.
When you see him angry, he doesn't talk much. When he's really, really angry, he doesn't talk much.
I'm sorry, Rawlings, do be an Rawlings, Mr. Maybe. Me Rawlings, people are simple saying once a month. And now, there is small side of the bar.
He's still power drunk. I mean, he wants to get back into power somewhere. He's not going to use the fact that he's left.
He's a strong person, very honest, but Ghanaians don't tend to like honest people.
Sir, you didn't come Ramon running it, Didia. As I say, you didn't to me too, if you see.
Nekaji major one, I'm about Rawlings, better than Baba. Only Baba Ghana ever him. Never any name. Eh? Come on, Benny Baba for you, for back work away in there. Moko mole. I may be.
People always talk about Rawlings has done this, blah, 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 blah. My view is President Rawlings is real.
He doesn't bite unless you harm him. Just like the snake. If you step on the snake, it will bite. But if you don't step on it, you go away and it also passes his way.
The same God who called the current president to come and do what he's doing today is the same God who called him. So when people are talking about him and are bad-mouthing him, they are talking and bad-mouthing an anointed of God.
He's a human being. He has his bad sides. He doesn't fight for the rich anyway. For the rich people, no. To get richer, no. But for the poor also to come on.
If God gave me the power to change something about Jerry Rawlings, I would take away some of his impatience.
I only ask him to remember his good old friends.
I would advise that, he controls his temper.
No, let him be as he is.
After the military, what? There I am, I was a cameraman, and I was very sympathetic to him or his state. But then shouting never got me anywhere. He ended me up in Kolibu, in cardiology. So he should just know that we're not as young anymore. We are hitting 3 score with a balance of 10 biblically, making us 3 score and 10. And we should go through it gracefully.
I would have preferred him to have had an NGO.
Enjoy being a grandfather too.